Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm at Apex 2025. I'm on the Creative Electron booth, and I'm joined by Chaim from Lincoln International. Thanks so much for joining me. You were presenting, or your team were presenting at the EMS Leadership Summit, talking about M&A activity. Give me a quick, short intro to Lincoln International and tell me how that went the day before yesterday.
Yes, so first of all, Phil, thank you very much for having me here. It's really great to be at the show and really just to be able to talk. So on Monday, we presented kind of an update on the M&A market and everything that's happened and happening within the EMS industry and related to that.
Okay. And are you specifically working M&A in the US, or do you tend to take a pretty global view?
Lincoln is the largest global investment bank focused in the private capital markets. Okay. I won't go into the whole commercial on what that is, but we do a lot in M&A, highly global in every geography around the world.
Okay, and is EMS a specialism?
We have been focused, our team specifically in our electronics group has been focused in EMS for well over 20 years.
Okay.
We do more EMS transactions than anyone on the planet.
Okay, any particular big deals that you've done that we can talk about, or is that all pretty
Probably
low profile?
Can't necessarily talk about, but pretty much look at it this way. If there is an EMS deal in the market, whether we're working on it or not, we tend to be around it and have knowledge.
Across it and involved.
Yeah, we like talking to the different parties that are both interested as well as just involved in everything strategically in EMS.
Yeah, so when you look at the deals that have been happening recently and the kind of thirst for deals going forward. In the past, in the US particularly, we've seen a lot of what I would call roll-ups, a whole bunch of maybe 25 to 50 mil companies making a $250 million company by bringing them all together, often funded by private equity. Are those the kind of deals that are on the table, or are you seeing European companies who want to get into the US? What are the drivers at the moment?
So every time frame is different. From about 2016, even 2015, leading up to really just a few, right before COVID, private equity interest and private equity investment on transactions was more significant than we've seen it in over a decade. So those buy and builds that you're talking about with private equity, highly, highly relevant over that time period. We've seen M&A activity drop off since post-COVID and kind of with the supply chain challenges that we've seen over the last couple of years. But now we're seeing it and we expect to see it resume. And that we think is going to be a mixture of both private equity interest as well as strategic interest, global supply chain management or global supply chain, global capacity expansion, as well as vertical integration. And we've seen all of that activity over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I talk to a lot of EMS leadership in Europe, and I tend to have access at the C-suite, which is really valuable. But I think there's been a lot of, COVID slowed a lot of their processes down, and they were definitely looking to the Americas as a growth opportunity. And they're definitely looking again now, but there's a hiatus because they're not sure whether they need to be in Mexico, whether they need to be in the US, what the tariff situation is going to be. Do you see that as a little bit of a break temporarily on the activity?
No, I think what we're seeing in general is the need to be global. It's not, you're absolutely right that being in a specific geography like Mexico with uncertainty on tariffs is something that a lot of people will take a bit of a pause and say, is that really where I'm going to be?
Where we're going,
However, if there is a strategic company and they don't have presence in the US, or they don't have presence in Mexico, they don't have presence in Southeast Asia, or even they don't have presence in China, right now they're thinking about that because the way of the environment that we live in is global. And so their customers are thinking, where am I going to make this? And where is it going to get made? And where's the best place for it to get made? And because of our administration, because of various different, just macroeconomic trends, that's changing. So the best players, the ones that can serve their customers in the way that the customers want, are the ones that have the ability to be global, and in order to shift that around in a more advantageous fashion.
Yeah, and I see it as two keywords there, global and agile. If you can create an agile footprint where you can easily move things from one location to it, or relatively easily move things from one location to another, and you have that global activity, footprint in Asia, Europe, and in North America, hugely valuable.
If you can give your customers that optionality, help them navigate the challenges of the supply chain, then you're going to have an advantage.
Yeah, no, it makes a huge difference to the opportunities that are out there, and what people are doing, and what people are looking for. So when you talk to the people at the summit on Monday, do you feel a lot of them were in the same position, looking for the same solution? Was there a mix of, I'd like to be acquired and I'd like to be an acquirer?
Everyone is in a bit of a different movie. And depending on the strategic plan, the growth profile, the trajectory of the given business, everyone's looking for different things. There are some companies that are going to be more focused on vertical integration. What are the capabilities that I need? How do I better serve the customers that I'm going after, the end markets that I'm targeting, and do I have everything that I need? Some are looking at it geographically. Do I have the capacity where I want that capacity? Do I have the access where I need it? Or are my customers telling me I need to be someplace else and I'm not there? And then some are looking at it from the standpoint of, I've grown to the point that I want, right? I've reached the thesis of, whether it's a buildup of a founder, private equity ownership, a strategic company that's looking at something different, and those potentially are acquisition targets.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of people in the industry aging out, and sometimes the route out is acquisition. Two most important things that people talk to me about with respect to M&A, and I'm generally talking to people that have either acquired or been acquired, is culture fit and timing. They seem to be the big issues. Is that something you're really careful to take care of?
So if we could perfectly time everything, we would all
in a different world.
I was going to say we'd probably all be sitting on a beach somewhere and relaxing a lot more. But timing is very difficult. What we tell companies is that it never hurts to prepare early and to prepare right. Because that preparation allows you to take advantage of timing. You never necessarily know when the perfect time is, but if it all of a sudden comes up, you want to be ready for it. So preparation is key. The cultural fit aspect is something that is more critically important to certain ownership. It's important from the standpoint also, if you look at the success of an M&A transaction.
The integration process.
For sure. In the involvement of the M&A transaction itself, it is more or less important depending on the owner.
Last question, the element of timing obviously impacts valuations, multiples. When you see a drop off in activity, they tend to go down. Where are they at the moment? Are they rising? Are they leveled out?
So it's interesting, when you look at multiples, the most powerful characteristics that drive multiple are really factors that are not related to timing. Things like revenue growth,
underlying growth,
margin, end market focus, specific customer profiles. There are a lot of different dynamics, and kind of we go down that list of what are those things that really drive value and what makes your company special relative to anyone else. Those are all more important than timing. So even with M&A activity declining, or in a, call it a trough area, not and coming back up, that's going to have less impact on the multiple than the specific characteristics of the company. Now, in general, we've seen multiples remain relatively stable. I would put it that way. But if you're not hitting on those metrics, that's going to more impact your value.
And it absolutely makes sense, because sometimes people are actually looking for an acquisition to get into a specific market, to get into a specific customer group, or to manage a specific capability perhaps that they don't have in terms of RF or a particular sector. So
for sure.
It makes a difference. Chaim, thanks for your time. Really enjoyed our conversation. Let's stay in touch and talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.